So let's go like back to it, right? So like importance of ult economy here. I love Striker jumping down on this one. It's fucking hilarious. He gets nothing for it. So alright, so they're trading ultimates back and forth, right? Ultimately, San Francisco Shock at the better end of the bargain. Now you're looking at Gamsu and Decay with ultimates here. And that's it. Whereas you will have... That's 2 ultimates for the Fuel to 1 ultimate from the Shock. Now... And it changes how the whole next fight plans. So now Decay's thrown his ultimate away. You think you're 43 to 43, right? Pretty even game. But that one play, and it's not just one thing, right? But that one play changes the entire scope of the match. So now you do not have Death Blossom, so your economy is significantly worse. So you're 1-to-1. Defenders always have advantage no matter what. They always have defender's advantage. It's always easier to defend than to push, right? You have to push through chokes. Defense has easier rotations, better positioning. It's always easier to be a defender. So when you're at a 1-to-1, even though you're even, defenders have the advantage, right? So you always have that defender's advantage. So you have 1 ult for Shock, 1 ult for Fuel. Shock get advantage. Now if you had 2 ults for Fuel and only 1 for Shock, it might be different. They might have to play it differently, right? Because they have to fear the Death Blossom. And it's especially crucial with how they push this next fight. So if we go forward, right, they have they done it yet? Yes, they have. I went a little bit too far, right? I apologize for that. So if we push this, right, and I love the way Shock pushed this. They pushed it aggressively. They forced the fight in a choke. So a choke that you know typically push a fight, but because they're all grouped up, you can. They go for the pull, very instant, right? They don't give Gamsu and the Fuel the ability to use the Supercharger as a way to build ultimate, which is something that you want to use your Supercharger for, right? They go in, and they're pushing them. They push, right? They push them into this tiny little choke, right? They get kills off of it. They do big damage off of it. And like I talked about before with the pressure, right? They only have 2 options to relieve pressure. You only have right side, which is currently covered by Striker and Rascal. They have left side, which is a pseudo choke point, right? Which is a massive alleyway. They push left side to relieve pressure, and in that, you know, they can get a lot of kills because of it. Decay gets killed, but they do so much damage to everybody in here. But imagine, right, you're in here, they're pushing you. Imagine if you have your Death Blossom. They have nothing to stop it, right? Choi's here. Imagine you kill Choi in this, or you Death Blossom while they're in there, and you have all the protection of your team, right? That might help, right? But maybe that's not a good place for a Death Blossom. That's fine, right? You probably don't want a Death Blossom there regardless. You lose that fight. Now Shock will again only have 1 ult. And let's go back to the idea that we still have the Death Blossom. You'll be coming up on Note's ultimate, and you have the Death Blossom from Decay. So this fight goes as this fight goes. All right, you finish the fight off. If you look on the side of the Shock, this next coming fight, and they would have had to use the exact same thing in that last fight. They only had the Choi ult to use, so they used it. They would have done the exact same thing regardless. But if we look economy now, you're going to have Note's ult, Crimso's ult, and Decay's ult, and only Violet. So you have all the options in the world. You can lead in with a Note ult, and when Note uses his ultimate, you're going to force Ice Block out of Rascal, Fade out of Violet, Gold out of Smurf, right, if you get a good pull. Striker probably won't get hit by it because he's on OTF. That's fine. You'll still pull out 3 super important cooldowns. Then once Note uses his ult, you have Cole, so you can counter their Cole, so you're ahead of the game. And then you have Decay, who doesn't have to deal with these self-sustain abilities, can now get a much better Death Blossom, either in the back line or on the front line. But that can't happen, because we do not have it. Because of that, San Francisco Shock don't have to worry about fighting in condensed area and taking the aggression, right? Because if they take the aggression and they burn cooldowns first, and there's a Death Blossom, they have to worry about that, right? They have to worry about that. But here they're not concerned. Because they know they have their Cole that'll keep them up from Note's ultimate. They take the aggressive fight, right? But there, see, there's gold. Even Striker used his Fade. I don't even know if does Rascal use Ice Block. I don't think he does. I don't think he has to. Oh, there he does eventually, right? 3 things that you could potentially have a Death Blossom in the backline because they've gone aggressive and they've been forced to use cooldowns, but you don't have that Death Blossom, so your team loses the match. Economy is so key at this level. Just that one ultimate changes the face of the whole game, and it doesn't hand it to Shock. There are always other things you can do, but definitely doesn't help. Economy is so important. And San Francisco Shock wins.